Hi everyone, welcome to Northern Zen Yoga. My name is Sandra, and I'm here today to talk to you about an issue that a lot of you might be experiencing, and perhaps it's keeping you from actually getting the most out of your yoga practice if you are doing yoga, or that you find that might prevent you from going to practice yoga either at a live yoga studio or even with videos online. And that is issues with your pelvic floor. Now, a lot of people practice yoga in a chair, mostly because they have mobility issues. And so getting onto the floor is difficult for them. And so starting off in a chair is a perfect way to start to build yourself, your strength, your flexibility in order to make getting down on the floor a lot more possible. But for some of you, you might find that getting on the floor isn't your problem. It's when you're in the standing poses that you find it difficult because of pelvic floor issues. Maybe you are experiencing certain types of incontinence, and so pressure in the standing poses might cause you to have difficulty, or even if it's just pelvic pain from feeling the gravitational pull on your pelvic area toward the floor. Now, I have a few students who have this issue, and they have made me aware of the problem that they are experiencing during some of the standing poses. As much as they love doing yoga, these particular poses become an issue for them. And mostly they're the warrior postures, warrior 1, warrior 2, and also the wide leg forward fold. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can make the most out of your practice by just keeping a chair handy, so that when you get to that point in the practice, whether you're live, you can take this idea to a live studio, or whether you're practicing on Zoom with me, or whether or not you're doing your videos that you love to watch at your own leisure. Just keep these little things in mind, keep a chair handy, and I'll show you what to do. Let's begin. So warrior 1. Most people will have no difficulty getting into warrior 1. It's a standing pose that just is a wide leg stance, but where we're moving our legs in a forward and backward position. Imagining there's an imaginary line down the middle of your mat helps. So we're going to have the front foot on one side of that line and the back foot on the other side of that line. And we're going to try to kick this leg back as far as we're able to and still be able to put our heel down on the floor. Now I'm off my mat here, so I'm slipping a little bit. But basically this is the stance. Our hips are forward, our back is straight, our feet are comfortably planted down, and we're feeling a little bit of a stretching going on here. People with pelvic issues might be starting to feel the gravitational pull on their pelvic area. So what I'd like you to do is, keeping these postures in mind, is just to plant yourself down on the chair. Now, the best kind of chair, of course, to use is one without arms, simply because when we're working with the warrior postures, we're going to be using the sides of the chair to help support our legs. And of course, if it's got a nice back on it, you've got the back there to help you if you feel a little bit unstable on the chair. So we're going to get, in this case, I've got my right foot forward, so I'm going to have my right bottom cheek planted down on the chair. Make sure your chair is not too flimsy so that when you put weight onto the chair, it's going to want to tip forward. So once you're in this position, you've got the front knee down. If you can't quite plant your foot completely onto the floor, you need to get a block. And I'm just going to grab a block just to show you what that looks like. Should have this handy. So here I am. I'm facing my body forward. I've got my right bottom cheek. I've got my foot up on the block, and this makes it very easy for me to position my foot so that I, from an upright position, can see my toes down there. I'm going to take the back leg, and I'm just going to slide it till I start to feel a stretch here. So now my pelvic floor area is completely supported. I'm not having to depend on gravity pushing down on it. Instead, I'm just working on stretching the muscles involved in this posture. If you like to do chair yoga, this is also the same way that you're going to do your chair yoga posture for Warrior 1. Now, if you have difficulty because of knee problems or issues that you can't flatten your foot down without feeling too much pressure in your knee, you can come to a position where just your toes are making contact. For this, I will allow, as long as you're feeling a little bit of stretching going on up here, this is the main thing. If you're able to slide your foot out further and get that same stretch in here, but get your foot planted for stability on the floor, that works too. But in the case where none of these are available, then you can just bring that foot over and you can just relax onto the ball of your foot or the toes of your foot. I'm going to push my foot out here so that I can feel a good stretch coming in here. I'm sitting up nice and straight, and now I'm going to reach up toward the ceiling, and at the same time as I'm reaching toward the ceiling, I'm pushing my bottom down into the chair. So I'm getting that nice stretch right up through the middle of the body, through the arms, up into the shoulder blades, up to the fingertips, and down my back leg. And here we're just going to breathe. And if you're asked, of course, to do anything else here, like a humble warrior where you're going to lean forward, you can now start to grasp your chair, the back of your chair, the seat of your chair for support. But if you're feeling pretty stable, you're just going to allow yourself to come into the position the same as if you were standing. Come back up again, tightening up into the abdominal muscles. And trust me, this flap, which sadly I seem to be getting a little bit too much of, that's going to change, has nothing to do with your abdominal strength, thank goodness. Abdominal muscles are buried deep underneath all of that. We can tighten them, we can clench them, just like you can clench your fist. And when you're working on lifting your torso, you need to make sure you engage that, whether you're sitting in a chair or you're standing. If you're asked to do a rotation at the shoulders, you can slide your block out. They're going to tell you to straighten your front leg. You can place your foot on the block so that your leg is in a more straightened out position. You're going to come forward. You're going to put your arm on the side of your leg, on the inside by your thigh. You're going to put the other arm behind your back, and you're just going to lift that shoulder up toward the ceiling. You're still getting the same rotation at the top of the spine without having to worry about your pelvic floor taking the pressure of the stand. Come back up again. You can always use your thigh to help push you up if you think you're not too stable in the abdominal muscles. And I'm just going to switch that back again and come back into your warrior stance. So that's Warrior 1. Now let's have a look at Warrior 2. Warrior 2, if I was in a standing position, now that imaginary line down the middle of my mat is the place where I put both of my heels. So I've got one heel in the front, I've got my knee bent, I can see my toes if I'm upright, I've got the other leg extended back, and I'm trying my best here, because I'm slipping a little bit on the floor, to keep my heel pushed back further than the front of my toes. This is something different. You may have instructors that say parallel to the back of the mat. If they do, ignore them. That will pinch your lumbar spine. So make sure you've got your foot on a slight angle. This helps to relax the pelvic area around your L5 vertebrae to keep it from getting pinched in. And we're going to sit into this posture, reaching in two directions. So this one is particularly difficult if you have pelvic floor issues. So once again, we're going to plant our bottom. Here I've got my right foot forward. If I need the block, if my legs are short or my chair is too tall, I can have my foot planted here. And if I'm upright, I can see my toes wiggling down there. And I've got this leg stretched out with my heel pressing back. Now this time my hips are sideways. So this becomes a little more doable for most of you. Now also, just like before, if you feel like pushing your leg out in front of you a little more helps you to feel more stable and balanced, and you can still feel a stretch here, you're still okay. For those of you that are able to, though, get that leg back, reaching out, stretching out. Now we're in the warrior two position, and we're allowing our body to be using the chair for support, not our pelvic muscles. Still engage your abdominal muscles to help protect you. We're going to drop the back hand down. We're going to come into the proud warrior. We're going to flip our palm up. We're going to reach up toward the ceiling, leaning back a little bit, looking up at the ceiling, and then we're going to look at our palm. And here you can reach down your leg. You can have your arm behind your back. And engaging the abdominal muscles to help support the torso. Even though we were planted on a chair, we still need to support. The abdominal muscles still need to support the spine and the back. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, you're just going to drop your forearm down onto your thigh. You can begin here. We're going to lift our left shoulder up and have a look at the ceiling, and then we're going to reach over our ear for the other side of the room. Now you can go underhand or overhand, whichever way is easier for your shoulder. And we're going to push our heel into the floor and the back leg, and we're going to stretch and reach with the front fingers. So again, you can let go here. You can use the chair for stability by pressing your palm into the seat of the chair. You can use your thigh for stability, or you can let go, but when you let go, you've got to tighten up in here and breathe. Let's come back up into warrior two. We're going to come into the triangle. So just like in warrior one, where we straightened out the front leg a bit, we're going to do the same here. We're going to just push that block out, straighten out our leg a little bit. We're going to come in and tip. Place your arm on the inside of your thigh. The other arm is going to reach up toward the ceiling. Triangle. Now this one feels a little bit too difficult with the arm. You can always have the arm behind the back and just focus on pulling your shoulder up. Come up nice and strong, tightening up in here. Reach out. And let's release our arms down, because now we're going to go into, usually what we flow into from here is our wide leg stance position. So this one gets a little bit tricky. And I'm going to tell you that you really need to be stable in your chair. So one of the things you may want to look at is how wide is your chair. If your chair is one of these really big seats and you're just a little person, it could become a little more difficult to do the wide leg position. I'm just going to move my seat back just a tiny bit, just so that I can keep my feet planted and secure on my mat. And as you notice, I'm putting this chair in the position of being near or on a mat. This is also a good idea for you to keep your chair close to your mat when you're performing these particular stretches, because you don't want your feet sliding on you, especially in this one. So for sure here, we're going to have a block handy, just in the beginning. This is to help us make sure we're stable in this position. So I've got my entire bottom planted down on the seat. I've got myself in a position where I can have my legs wide here and either straddling the chair completely. Let's see if I went back a little further. I'm able to do it. You may not be able to do it at this point. You might only be able to get your legs about here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the block right in the middle. Turn your toes so your toes are pointed in toward you a little bit more. Your heels are out to the side. I've got a blanket on here. I'm going to take that off because that's going to cause me to slide. Felt good when I was sitting on it, but won't feel so good if I slide off the chair. So let's come down nice and slow. Reach for your block. Once you've got yourself stable on the block, make sure your body has got enough support underneath it on the chair so your pelvic region is pressing into the chair. Then if you're able to, if your body is flexible enough to reach down to the mat, you're going to keep your block there just in case you need it. And now we're going to lean forward and we're going to rotate. This is a hip rotation, not a back stretch so much. Lift your tailbone up. We're still on the chair. It's supporting your pelvic area, but at the same time, you're getting that good hip stretch. Bring your block back, press into your block, or if you feel confident, tighten up everything in here and pull yourself upright. You can always use your thighs. If you find halfway up, got a little bit of trouble happening. So use your thighs, use your block, use your abdominals all together to help raise you back up again. All right? Now, the last one I'm going to show you is the goddess squat. And for this one, you do have to lift up a little bit up off the chair. So let's just bring our feet in a little bit closer and bend our knees. And our toes are pointed off to the side. So you can use your thighs for support here. Or if you're able to, you can lift up just enough. So either you're using your thighs to help support you up. Tighten up. When you come up, you're going to pull up your pelvic area, and then you're going to drop back down again. Pull up, tighten up, drop back down again. So this particular goddess squat sequence is very good to help to strengthen your pelvic floor, but I want you to be very cautious. If by getting up and pulling up against your pelvic area, you feel any pain, any discomfort, or you feel like this is not a good thing for you, just period, then you're just going to let that one go. Instead, what I'd like you to do is sit back a little further and just work on tightening and releasing. Tightening and releasing while the rest of the class are doing their goddess squats. So after you're tightening and releasing, you might want to try maybe the next time to move a little bit closer to the edge, see if you can lift up a tiny bit. But it still feels like too much. Just go back to the tightening and releasing as everybody else is doing the goddess squats. You're still getting a little bit of muscle strengthening exercise in here. You're not getting as much of an abdominal workout, but you're still contracting everything. So you're contracting your abdominals, you're contracting your pelvic muscles, you're squeezing your buttocks. So really, really, really just work at that while everybody else is doing their goddess squats, and you're good to go. Now, I really hope this helped. And if any of you see that there's any other postures that you have difficulty with, especially if you have pelvic area problems that I haven't addressed right now, please let me know, and I'll do my best to create another video for you so that you'll be able to continue to do your yoga practice all the way through from start to finish. Until next time, this is Sandra, Northern Zen Yoga. Bye for now.